everyone. So tonight I'm making a classic pizza ring, except this one, instead of being pizza, is going to be a cheeseburger. So in this pan I have about 3/4 of a pound, maybe a little more, it's hard to get that exact in the store, of ground beef. And I have got the more lean ground beef, like 93%. Normally I would rinse the fat off of this, but it's not cooking up with a whole lot, so I'm not going to worry about it. And this is the mix and chop. If you don't have one of these, you should definitely get one of these. It helps to break up your ground beef into smaller crumbles, so it's not really big chunks. I've actually used it to vent pie crust by just going straight down in the pie crust and making this pretty little flower design. I have coarse chopped avocados to make guacamole in a bowl with this. I mean, you can use this for multiple things. I use all of my Pampered Chef pretty much all the time, but I have to say this is one of my favorites. So this is the mix and chop. So at this point, I have my ground beef kind of broken up, kind of halfway browned, and it calls for adding 1/4 cup of ketchup. This is our measure all cup. If you hold it up this way, where the and this actually is the small measure all cup. Where the little beak is for measuring liquids. If you turn it over to the other side, it's for solids. We're going to put 1/4 cup of ketchup. Let's see, is that 1/4 cup? Yeah, a little bit more. And this is actually a little tight to push down, so you don't have to worry so much about things leaking out around the edges. It's not going to. And you know that liquid that's in the top of your condiments? If you shake that up really, really good, work your arm muscles, you just have the regular condiment. Ketchup to me sometimes ain't as bad. Mustard, yeah. So we're just gonna, well, that sort of slides in. I'm probably gonna use the other side for that. But for mayonnaise, honey, peanut butter, that's your go-to. Now for the mustard, we're gonna use 2 teaspoons of it. This is our stainless steel scoop, the small one. Now in this new spring catalog, there is a larger one, which is in my wish list. I haven't ordered it yet. But inside here, it has 1 teaspoon, 2 teaspoons, 1 tablespoon, 2 tablespoons, and everything up flush against the edge is 3 tablespoons, which is a packet of taco seasoning or a packet of ranch dressing. I've measured it. So, here we go. Shook up the mustard. Two teaspoons. And I'm just going to use like my little mini scoop, and I'm going to use the long handled scraper here to get that mustard out. Just sit that like that. And this right here is, I think Pampered Chef came out with this the other fall, I think, when they came out with the Brilliance cookware line. This is a thing to cover your handle. I forget what it's exactly called. But it keeps it heat safe so you don't burn your fingers. And there's also one for the handle too. Okay. The big pieces there. Now after this, so this recipe couldn't be any easier or any more cost effective. I'm going to use my coated Santoku knife. I'm not sure that I'm angled exactly right, so I'm just going to angle this down. And I have 5 slices of just Kraft American cheese. We're going to cut this in little pieces. I also have 4 more slices that are going to go across the top of this. I'm just going to turn this. This is my flexible cutting mat, by the way. And I chose to use it. I'm going to show you here in just a second. And the flexible cutting mats actually come in 2 sizes. This is the regular bigger size. There is a smaller size. It's sticking together. Maybe I should spray a little oil on my knife. Okay, so with the flexible cutting mats, you can just pick them up and put that right into your, whatever you're making. Okay, you might want to check that, Dave. I had to adjust it down so they could see me cutting the cheese for this. So we're just going to stir this until it melts. And while I'm just going to give it a minute to sort of do its thing and melt here, because I'm going to work on the actual ring part. Oops, piece of cheese overboard. Okay, so this is an older pizza stone. The way you can tell, it has all straight lines on the back. The newer pieces have wavier lines. They can go in the dishwasher. Mine being older, it can't. I don't have a dishwasher anyway, so it makes no difference to me. But the newer is just as good as the older, except it's better. You can put it in the dishwasher. So, I'm going to take 2 cans of crescent rolls. And we are going to pop those open. And if you've never made these rings before, or the braids, they're not as hard to do as you may think. I have my oven preheated to 375. Cheese is melting. I'm just going to break that where the perforation is in the middle. Break apart our triangles here. Should be 4 in this section. That one kind of broke. See if I can mash it back together. So I'm going to start making our ring here. And the way we're going to do this is, I don't really have a set way of being able to tell what the center, just sort of imagine there's a small bowl here. If you really wanted to, you could put a bowl in the center just to give yourself a good idea of how that would go. But you're just going to overlap these pieces of crescent roll. Don't want that to go too close to that pan. And that's got a hole in it. And you want to put this fairly close together, these triangles. But remember, you do have 2 cans going here, so you want to leave enough room to be able to put the other slices that you're getting ready to open up. I think our cheese is just about melted here. Yeah, it pretty well is. I'm going to cut that off and let that cool just a bit. why that wants to be stuck there on the end. Those are going to be all crazy. Okay. So I'm going to break that apart in the side here. That goes to the top. So I'm just going to try to put these triangles back together the way I think they should go. A big piece. Okay, so this one completely tore apart almost. And you want to keep your triangles kind of going to the same side so that they're pointing the right direction. And then this one will be in the middle. So, I think part of that kind of went with that one. That's where I'm going to make it. We're just going to mash this down. And kind of make a good circle here in the center. Okay. Then I'm going to take my medium cookie scoop and I'm just going to start scooping some of this filling right in here in the center. Cookie scoops are really great for being able to measure out perfect proportions. I use them a lot when I'm doing meatballs, whether it be barbecue meatballs or spaghetti and meatballs. Okay, and then after you get that all the way around, you can sort of use your leftover and just go in and fill wherever you see little gaps where there might not be as much as in another place, like where it was in between the scoops, I guess. A little bit right there. Alright, so after this, we're just going to fold our, that was a broke one. We're just going to fold our crescent roll mixture right over. And the recipe actually did call for putting pickle slices around here. I think I'm gonna leave those and let each person put the pickles if they want it. I like pickles, but I'm not sure the rest of my family's gonna want that. Plus, if you don't like your pickle to be hot and you want to keep it cold, I think that would be better. Perfectly acceptable, whichever way you want to do it. Okay, here's one I fixed here. And you just want to make sure to sort of tuck that crescent roll either up or mash it down really good so that it seals. And it's okay to leave the little gaps between. It's supposed to be that way. And one more. My hands here. So then we're going to take our other 4 cheese slices, and the recipe recommends using the crinkle cutter. I'm not sure that it really matters. I'm just going to continue to use my knife just to not mess up another item. I do have the crinkle cutter. I use it more for making nice pretty crinkle cut carrots or cucumbers for parties. I use it for making nice cheese pieces for charcuterie board. But in this instance, we're laying the cheese on top of the ring, and I just don't know. Once it melts, you're not going to be able to tell if it's got that scalloped edging anyway. So I'm just going to cut it into the 4 pieces with a knife. Alright. And I'm just going to lay this across. So, change that up here so that all those are going in a nice, pretty direction. Now, if you wanted to make this fancy, like a restaurant burger, you could sprinkle some sesame seeds. I don't know that you would need to, though, because that would just get in with the melted cheese and kind of not be all that great. But if you like that, you could definitely do it. Okay. So, at this point, my oven's preheated. I'm just going to stick this in. I think it calls for baking it for 22 to 25 minutes. So I'm just going to let that go. We have some leftover, just shredded iceberg lettuce from our tacos on Sunday. When that comes out, I'm going to put that in the center. We'll have our pickles I'll have on the side. And the other thing I was going to show you is the simple slicer. Get that little piece of cheese out of the way. So this, I think it actually sets up. You can adjust this to whichever size slice you want. I think you can go flat with it. Well, that would make really thin. 1 would be raised up a little, 2 be a little more, and then 3. I like it to have some substance to it, not be super, super thin. I guess you just hold this up. I don't use this as often as I use my rapid prep mandolin. And it's got its own holder. So I'm going to see if I can slice off the end here. Let me use the tomato knife. always works better with something with a serrated edge for tomatoes. So, my tomato may be a little bit overripe here. So this was a Roma tomato. Now that I've got it started good, it's kind of falling apart on me. It is overripe. I'm the only one that's gonna eat tomato anyway, so that'll be okay. But we would normally put these pieces of tomato in the center and have the lettuce in the center when it comes out, and then we'll put the pickles off to the side or in a bowl. And everyone could use what they want. So, this is the cheeseburger ring. Have a good night, y'all. Bye-bye.